Kang Daeho walked through the metal corridors of Kepler Station with slow steps. His black uniform felt heavy on his shoulders. The message in his hand made his stomach feel sick. 3 years he had been Earth's ambassador to this place, and never had he received something like this. The station buzzed with activity around him. Traders from 12 different worlds filled the markets. The air smelled of strange spices and alien food. Blue-skinned Threnodi clicked their mandibles while they counted credits. The tall hegemony officers watched everyone with their cold yellow eyes. Everything seemed normal, but Daeho knew it was not. He reached his small office and sat down at his desk. The message felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Report to Valoran Prime for species classification and integration protocols. The words looked innocent enough, but every diplomat in the galaxy knew what those words really meant. The Galactic Council had decided humanity's fate. Daeho pressed a button on his desk. The screen lit up with Earth's blue and green surface. Home looked so peaceful from space. His hands shook as he typed the coded message that would change everything. Classification notice received. Council session confirmed. Status: red alert. Far away on Earth, Lee Soman read the message in her underground command center beneath, Seoul. The bunker went 3 levels deep into the ground. Steel walls surrounded computers that never stopped working. Screens showed the movement of every ship in human space. Red lights blinked on her control board. "Ma'am," said her aide, a young man with worried eyes. The signal came through. Ambassador Daeho confirms the council vote. Soman looked at the main screen. It showed Earth's defense network. To anyone watching from space, humanity looked weak. Their ships were old. Their weapons seemed simple. Their technology appeared basic compared to other galactic powers. This was exactly what they wanted everyone to believe. "How long do we have?" Soman asked. 72 hours, ma'am. Standard galactic time." Soman nodded. 3 days to surrender everything humanity had built. 3 days to accept slavery to alien masters. 3 days to give up the home world that had made them strong. She looked at the sealed drawer on her desk. Inside was a single red button. Protocol 7. The signal that would tell the galaxy who humans really were. "Open channel to all deep space positions," she said. Her voice was calm, but her heart beat fast. "This is Defense Coordinator Lee Soman. Execute Operation Hidden Star. All units move to attack positions. The masquerade is over." Light years away from Earth, Yoon Minho felt his ship shake as the engines came to life. The New Horizon had pretended to be a research vessel for 15 years. Its hull looked old and peaceful. Scientific equipment covered its outer sections. But beneath that disguise was the most powerful warship humanity had ever built. "Sir," called his weapons officer. "All systems coming online. Quantum cannons charging. Shield generators ready. We're receiving similar signals from the other ships." Minho walked to the bridge window. Space looked empty, but he knew better. 12 other ships just like his were moving into position. Each one had enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Each one had been waiting for this day. "How long since we started this charade?" he asked his first officer. 37 years, sir, since first contact with the hegemony. 37 years of pretending to be weak. 37 years of letting alien powers think humans were just another primitive species. 37 years of preparation for this moment. On Valoran Prime, the Galactic Council met in their great crystal chamber. Representatives from 47 star systems sat in floating chairs around a massive holographic display. The display showed Earth and its solar system. Small red markers indicated human ships and bases. "The primitives have 23 active vessels," reported the Threnodi intelligence officer. His insect voice clicked through the translation devices. All appear to be armed with basic kinetic weapons. Energy signatures suggest chemical propulsion systems. No quantum technology detected. The council leader, a massive creature covered in gray scales, nodded his great head. "And their ground forces? Approximately 2 billion military personnel, standard projectile weapons, some primitive missiles, no energy weapons of significant power." Laughter filled the chamber. These humans were even weaker than expected. The Council had conquered species with 10 times their military strength. This would be the easiest integration in galactic history. Any signs of hidden facilities? Asked a delegate from the outer rim. The intelligence officer checked his data again. Deep scans show industrial complexes on their moon and several asteroids. All appear to be mining or manufacturing operations. Nothing that suggests military significance. More laughter. The humans were so primitive they were still mining asteroids by hand. Every civilized species had moved beyond such basic resource, gathering centuries ago. Vote, commanded the council leader. One by one, the delegates cast their votes. 47-0. Humanity was classified as a Class C species. Limited intelligence, no significant military threat, suitable only for basic labor and resource extraction. The decision was unanimous. Back on Earth, Kim Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of Seoul's Pride. His ship was old, just like the council thought. Its weapons were basic, its armor was thin. But Kim smiled as he watched his sensors. The alien fleet was coming, and they had no idea what waited for them. "Sir, incoming transmission," said his communications officer. The main screen lit up with the face of President Park Ji-won. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but Kim could see the steel in her expression. "Citizens of Earth," she began. "For nearly 40 years we have known this day would come. We have prepared, we have planned. We have built in secret while pretending to be weak. Today the galaxy will learn what happens when you threaten the home of humanity." Kim's hands moved to his weapons controls. Around Earth, 19 other ships just like his took their positions. They looked pathetic compared to what was coming. But they were not alone. Deep in the asteroid belt, construction yards that had been disguised as mining stations came to life. Massive doors opened in what looked like solid rock. Ships began to emerge. Not the simple vessels the aliens expected, but sleek destroyers and massive battlecruisers. On Mars, underground bunkers revealed their true purpose. Defense platforms rose from beneath fake research stations. Weapons that could crack a planet's crust turned toward space. In the outer system, generation ships that had claimed to be carrying colonists to distant worlds dropped their peaceful disguises. Each one carried enough firepower to sterilize a continent. The trap was set. Humanity had spent 4 decades convincing the galaxy they were harmless. They had traded carefully, spoken softly, and hidden their true nature behind smiles and peaceful words. Every alien power had looked at Earth and seen easy prey. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Daeho felt his shuttle shake as it left Kepler Station. The pilot was taking him to Valoran Prime as ordered. He would stand trial for his species. He would hear their judgment, but he would also deliver humanity's response. In his pocket was a small device. When activated, it would send a message across the galaxy. The message was simple. "We are not your prey. We are not your servants. We are humanity, and we have been waiting." The greatest mistake in galactic history was about to unfold. The Valoran Council thought they were integrating another weak species. Instead, they had just declared war on the most dangerous predators in the known universe. Humanity was done hiding. The Valoran fleet came out of hyperspace like thunder. 300 ships appeared in Earth's solar system, their hulls gleaming with alien metal. Each vessel was twice the size of the largest human ship. Their weapons could turn a city to glass in seconds. Fleet Commander Zarian stood on his flagship's bridge and smiled with satisfaction. "Primitive world," he said to his officers. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stone. "Look at their pathetic defenses, 20 ships to guard an entire planet. This will be over in minutes." The human ships looked tiny compared to the Valoran armada. Kim Hyun-woo watched the alien fleet take position around Earth's moon. His old cruiser, Seoul's Pride, shook slightly from the engine vibrations. Paint peeled from the walls. The weapon systems made grinding sounds when they moved. Everything about his ship screamed weakness. "Sir," called his sensor officer, "the aliens are broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it on screen." Commander Zarian's reptilian face filled the display. His yellow eyes were cold and cruel. Behind, Him stood other Velaran officers, all wearing the same expression of contempt. "Humans of Earth," Zerion began. "By order of the Galactic Council, you are hereby classified as a servant species. Your military vessels will power down immediately. Your leaders will report for processing. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your world." Kim looked around his bridge. His crew was young and scared. Most had never seen real combat. They knew the plan, but plans were different from reality. When the shooting started, people died. "Open channel to Earth," Kim said. "Let's see what the president has to say." On Earth, Park Ji-won sat in the presidential bunker. The walls around her were covered with screens showing the alien fleet. 300 ships hung in space like metal vultures. Each one could destroy Seoul's pride with a single shot. But Park smiled as she looked at her hidden displays. "Citizens of Earth," she said into the camera. "Today marks the end of our long deception. For 40 years we have pretended to be weak. We have acted humble. We have let the galaxy think we are children playing with simple toys." She stood up from her chair. Her voice grew stronger. "You have made the greatest mistake in galactic history. You have threatened the homeworld of a species that survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and extinction events. We are not your subordinates. We are not your resource gatherers. We are humanity, and we have been preparing for this day since we first looked up at the stars." Zerion laughed when he heard the speech. These primitives still did not understand. He had conquered 20 worlds. He had burned civilizations that were 1,000 times stronger than these humans. Their defiant words meant nothing. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Target their major cities. Show them what happens to those who refuse the Council's will." Energy beams lanced down from the Valoran ships toward Earth. The weapons could melt steel and vaporize stone. They struck the atmosphere and headed for New York, London, Tokyo, and Beijing. The humans would learn quickly that resistance was hopeless. But the beams never reached their targets. Massive shield generators rose from the ground around every major city. The energy weapons struck the shields and scattered like water hitting a wall. The generators were huge, each one the size of a city block. They had been hidden beneath parks and farmland, disguised as ordinary buildings. "Impossible," Zerion whispered. "Where did they get shield technology that advanced?" His question was answered when Earth's surface erupted. Defense platforms rose from beneath fake lakes and forests. Missile launchers emerged from hills that had been hollow shells. Weapon batteries that had been disguised as radio towers turned toward space. The primitive humans had turned their entire planet into a fortress. But this was only the beginning. Choi Sung-hyun sat in Luna Base, watching his sensors with grim satisfaction. The base was buried deep beneath the moon's surface. For 30 years it had pretended to be a simple research station. Scientists came and went. They published papers about moon rocks and solar radiation. No one suspected that the real facility was 10 times larger than what showed on the surface. "Sir," called his tactical officer, "all deep space units are in position. The Valorans have no idea what's coming." Sung-hyun nodded. He had been waiting for this moment his entire career. Humanity's greatest secret was about to be revealed. "Drop the masking fields," he ordered. "Let them see what we really are." Throughout the solar system, ships began to appear, not the simple research vessels the aliens expected, but sleek warships that had been hiding in plain sight. The New Horizon dropped its disguise first. Its peaceful hull fell away like old skin, revealing a battle cruiser bristling with weapons. Minho felt his ship come alive as the quantum cannons powered up. For 15 years he had pretended to study asteroids and map space dust. His crew had been bored beyond belief, but every day had been preparation for this moment. "All stations report ready, sir," his weapons officer announced. "Good. Signal the fleet. It's time to show these bastards what humans can really do." One by one, the hidden ships revealed themselves. What looked like cargo haulers became destroyers. Science vessels transformed into assault ships. Even the old colony transports dropped their masks to show the missile cruisers hidden beneath. The Valoran fleet found itself surrounded. "Sir," screamed Zerion sensor operator. "Multiple contacts appearing. I count over 200 human vessels." Zarion stared at his displays in shock. Where had these ships come from? His intelligence reports showed less than 30 human vessels in total. Now his fleet was outnumbered by ships that should not exist. "Identify their weapon signatures," he ordered. The answer made his blood run cold. These were not primitive kinetic weapons. The energy readings showed quantum cannons, plasma batteries, and fusion torpedoes. Technology that matched or exceeded his own fleet's capabilities. "How is this possible?" he whispered. Nam Tae-hyung knew exactly how it was possible. He stood on the bridge of Iron Mountain, one of humanity's newest attack ships. For 20 years he had studied every piece of alien technology that came to Earth. Human scientists had taken apart Valoran engines, analyzed their weapons, and improved on every design. "The aliens make good engineers," he said to his crew. "But they've never had to fight for survival. They've never faced extinction. They build weapons to intimidate. We build weapons to kill." His ship's quantum cannon was 3 times more powerful than anything in the Valoran fleet. The targeting system was faster. The shields were stronger. Every human ship had been built with one purpose: to destroy any threat to Earth. "Target the flagship," Tae-hyung ordered. "Let's show them what a real weapon looks like." The Iron Mountain fired first. The quantum beam tore through space and struck Zarion's flagship dead center. The Valoran shields flickered and died. The beam punched through the hull like it was paper and exploded inside the ship. Zarion felt his flagship shake as systems failed around him. Emergency lights flashed red. His officers screamed orders that no one could follow. The humans had weapons that should not exist. "Return fire," he roared. "All ships, return fire." The Valoran fleet opened up with everything they had. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled space with deadly light. But the human ships moved like ghosts. They dodged and weaved through the attack, their engines far more advanced than expected. Song. Minjae watched the battle from his boarding ship. He commanded 300 human marines, all waiting for their chance to board alien vessels. His men were trained for zero-gravity combat. They knew how to fight in cramped corridors and alien atmospheres. Most importantly, they were angry. "Listen up," he called to his troops. "These aliens think they can come to our home and make us slaves. They think we're weak because we haven't started any wars. They're about to learn that we haven't started wars because we're too good at finishing them." His boarding ship accelerated toward a damaged Valoran cruiser. The enemy vessel was leaking atmosphere and spinning slowly. Its weapons were offline. Perfect target for a boarding action. The human fleet pressed their attack with ruthless efficiency. They had studied Valoran tactics for decades. They knew exactly where to hit and when. Ships that had never known defeat began exploding in brilliant flashes. "Retreat," Zarion finally ordered. His proud fleet was being torn apart by humans who were supposed to be primitive. "All ships retreat to hyperspace," but Yoon Minho had a different plan. His ship moved to block the alien escape route. His weapons locked onto the fleeing Velerans. "This is Admiral Minho of the Human Defense Force," he broadcast. "Any ship that participated in the attack on Earth will be destroyed or captured. There will be no retreat, no mercy. You came here to enslave us. Now you'll learn what it means to fight humanity on our own ground." The message was clear. The aliens had made their choice when they threatened Earth. Now they would face the consequences. News of the battle spread across subspace faster than light itself. The mighty Valoran fleet, conqueror of worlds, was being destroyed by a species that was supposed to be harmless. The galaxy was about to learn a new truth: never threaten humanity's home. The space around Earth turned into a graveyard of burning ships. Valoran vessels that had conquered dozens of worlds now spun helplessly through the void. Their hulls were torn open like broken eggs. Emergency lights blinked weakly in the darkness. The proud armada was dying. Commander Zarion clutched his command chair as another explosion rocked his flagship. Half his bridge crew was dead. The other half worked frantically to keep the ship from falling apart. Through the smoke and sparks, he could see the human ships closing in like hunting wolves. "Damage report," he screamed over the alarms. "Shields, down to 15%, called his tactical officer. Blood ran down the alien's scaled face. Main weapons offline. Life support failing on decks 7 through 12. How many ships do we have left? The answer made Zerion's heart sink. 143, sir. The humans have destroyed over half our fleet. Impossible. The Valoran Navy had never lost more than a few ships in any battle. They were the terror of the galaxy. Entire civilizations surrendered at the sight of their fleet, but these humans fought like demons. Nam Tae-hyung watched his quantum cannon recharge for another shot. The Iron Mountain had already destroyed 6 enemy ships. His crew worked with deadly precision. Every human on his bridge had trained for this moment their entire lives. Target that battle cruiser, he ordered. The one trying to run. Sir, they're broadcasting surrender codes, his communications officer reported. Did they accept our surrender when they came to destroy Earth? Tae-hyung asked coldly. No, sir. Then we don't accept theirs. Fire. The quantum beam lanced out and caught the fleeing battlecruiser in its engines. The ship exploded in a ball of white fire. Debris scattered across space, glowing hot against the black. This was not just battle. This was justice. Song Min-jae felt his boarding pod slam into the side of a Valoran cruiser. The impact threw him against his restraints, but he was ready. Around him, 30 human Marines checked their weapons one final time. They wore black armor that made them look like death itself. Remember the plan, he told his men. These aliens came to enslave our families, show them what humans do to slavers. The pod's cutting laser burned through the alien hull. Atmosphere rushed out in a white cloud. Then the Marines were through, moving fast through the alien corridors. The Valorans, inside, were not ready for human combat tactics. They had fought other civilized species who followed rules of war. Humans had no such rules when defending their home. Min-jae's men moved like ghosts through the ship. They struck fast and disappeared before the aliens could respond. Every corridor became a killing ground. Every room became a trap. Bridge secured, Min-jae reported over his radio. Ship is ours. Similar reports came from boarding teams across the battle zone. Humans did not just destroy enemy ships. They captured them, studied them, learned from them. Every alien vessel they took made humanity stronger. Back on Earth, Lee So-min watched the battle from her command bunker. The displays showed human victory after human victory. But this was only the beginning. The real test would come when word reached Valoran Prime. Ma'am, called her aide. We're receiving surrender signals from multiple enemy ships. Patch me through to all human vessels, So-min ordered. Her image appeared on every human ship in the fleet. Officers and crew members looked up from their tasks to listen. Warriors of humanity, she began. Today we have proven that Earth cannot be conquered. But this battle is not over. These aliens came here believing we were weak. They learned the truth. Now we will make sure the entire galaxy learns the same lesson. She paused, looking directly into the camera. No alien vessel that participated in the attack on Earth will be allowed to leave the system. Not until every government in the galaxy understands what happens when you threaten our home. The message was clear. This was not just defense, it was a demonstration. Yoon Min-ho nodded as he heard So-min's orders. His ship, the New Horizon, had taken position near the hyperspace jump point. Any alien ship that wanted to flee would have to get past him first. Sir, his sensor officer called, detecting hyperspace signatures. Multiple ships are trying to escape. How many? 47 vessels, sir. They're running at full speed. Minho smiled coldly. Signal the outer ring squadrons. It's time to spring the final trap. In the darkness beyond Pluto, ships that had been waiting for 40 years came to life. These were humanity's oldest secret, generation ships that had left Earth decades ago, claiming to search for new worlds. Colony vessels that had disappeared into deep space. All lies. Each ship carried thousands of humans and enough weapons to sterilize a planet. They were humanity's insurance policy. If Earth ever fell, these ships would ensure the species survived to take revenge. But today they had a different purpose. The fleeing Valoran ships ran straight into the waiting human fleet. Ships appeared from every direction, surrounding the aliens in a sphere of death. The Valorans found themselves trapped between Earth's defenders and humanity's hidden armada. "This is Captain Choi Sung-yoon of the Generation ship New Seoul," came the broadcast. "You are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." The alien commander of the fleeing ships stared at his sensors in shock. Where had these massive human vessels come from? Each one was the size of a small moon. Their weapon signatures showed enough firepower to crack planets. "How long have they been out there?" he whispered. His intelligence officer checked the readings again. "Sir, based on their engine signatures, these ships have been in deep space for over 30 years. 30 years. The humans had been planning this for 30 years. While the galaxy thought they were a peaceful species interested only in trade, they had been positioning their real military forces throughout space. The truth hit the alien commander like a physical blow. Humanity had never been weak. They had been pretending. Every diplomatic contact, every trade agreement, every peaceful gesture had been part of a massive deception. "We've been played," he said quietly. On the flagship of the Deep Space Fleet, Admiral Han Ye-jin studied the tactical display. She was the first human to hold the rank of admiral, promoted just hours ago as the scope of the battle became clear. Her ships had been waiting in the dark for decades. Now it was time to act. "All vessels, this is Admiral Han," she broadcast to her fleet. "Today marks the end of humanity's greatest deception. For 40 years we have convinced the galaxy that we are harmless. We have smiled and traded and spoken soft words while we prepared for war." She looked at the trapped alien ships on her screen. These invaders came to our system expecting to find a weak species ready for slavery. Instead, they found the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Let this be a lesson to every power that watches. Humanity is done hiding. The battle was swift and brutal. The trapped Valoran ships fought with desperation, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Human weapons tore through their formations like knives through paper. One by one, the alien ships went dark. Some exploded in brilliant flashes. Others surrendered and were boarded by human marines. A few tried to self-destruct rather than face capture, but human boarding teams were ready even for that. In 6 hours, the entire Valoran expeditionary force was destroyed or captured. Not a single alien ship escaped to carry word back to their home worlds. But that was exactly what humanity wanted. Jung Woo-seok sat in his office on Luna Base, preparing the most important message in human history. As Earth's Secretary of Galactic Affairs, it was his job to handle diplomatic communications. But today's message would be different from any diplomacy the galaxy had ever seen. "Begin recording," he told his aide. The camera activated, and Woo-seok looked directly into it with calm, cold eyes. "To all governments of the Galactic Council," he began. "This is Secretary Jung Woo-seok of the Human-Terran Republic. 6 hours ago, your Valoran allies launched an unprovoked attack on the human homeworld of Earth." He paused, letting the words sink in. "This attack has failed completely. The Valoran Expeditionary Force has been destroyed. No alien vessel that participated in the attack on Earth has been permitted to survive." Another pause. "Let this serve as notice to every civilization in the galaxy. Humanity is not the weak species you believed us to be. We are not suitable for integration into your servant races. We are the children of a world that tried to kill us with ice, fire, plague, and extinction. We survived it all and grew stronger." His voice grew harder. "Any government that supported the Valoran attack will be held accountable. Any species that assisted in planning our enslavement will face justice. Any world that celebrates our intended subjugation will learn what human anger truly means." He leaned forward, his face filling the camera. "We tried peace. You chose war. Now face the consequences." The message was broadcast on every frequency known to galactic civilization. It reached the council chambers on Valoran Prime. It was heard in the markets of 100 worlds. It spread through the communication networks of 47 star systems. The galaxy's greatest mistake was finally becoming clear to everyone. Oh Sung-min monitored the alien communication networks from his listening post on Ceres. As head of human intelligence operations, he had spent decades learning the languages and customs of every major galactic power. Now he watched their reactions to the news from Earth. Fear, confusion, panic.
News of the Valoran defeat spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On 1,000 worlds, governments that had bowed to alien authority for centuries watched the impossible unfold on their screens. The mighty Valoran fleet, destroyer of civilizations,
had been wiped out by a species most had never heard of. In the crystal halls of Valoran Prime, panic ruled the emergency council session. Representatives from dozens of subject worlds sat in their floating chairs, watching the replay of humanity's message over and over. The human who called himself Secretary Young Vusuk spoke with the calm certainty of someone who held all the cards. "Impossible," muttered the Threnody delegate, his insect voice clicking through the translator. "Our intelligence said they were primitive. Chemical rockets and kinetic weapons." The hegemony military advisor, a massive creature with gray scales and yellow eyes, slammed his clawed hand on the podium. "Your intelligence was wrong. These humans have been lying to us for 40 years. "How many ships do they really have?" asked a nervous voice from the Outer Rim territories. No one had an answer. If humanity could hide 300 warships in their own system, what else were they hiding? How many more fleets waited in the darkness between stars? Admiral Han Yejin stood on the bridge of her flagship as the human armada prepared to leave Earth's solar system. Around her, 250 ships hung in space like metal predators. Each vessel was larger and more powerful than anything the galaxy had seen before. "Ma'am," called her navigation officer. "Course plotted for Valoran space. Estimated travel time is 14 days. "Good," Han replied. "Signal the fleet. It's time to take this war to the enemy." She had waited her entire career for this moment. Born on one of the generation ships, she had grown up knowing that someday humanity would have to fight for its place in the galaxy. That day had finally come. The human fleet entered hyperspace in perfect formation. They left behind the wreckage of the Valoran Armada as a warning to anyone else who might threaten Earth. The message was clear. This is what happens to those who attack humanity's home. On Earth, President Park Ji-won addressed the world from the presidential palace. Behind her, the flags of every human nation flew side by side. The old divisions that had once split humanity seemed small compared to the threat from space. "Citizens of Earth," she began, "today marks the beginning of a new chapter in human history. For too long we have hidden our true strength. We have pretended to be weak while preparing for the war we knew would come." She paused, looking directly into the cameras that carried her words to every corner of the planet. "That war is here. The aliens who rule this galaxy have declared us unfit for freedom. They came to make us slaves. Instead, they have awakened something they cannot control." On the screens behind her, images appeared of human ships moving through space. Weapons platforms rising from hidden bases, Marines training for boarding actions. The true scope of humanity's military might was finally revealed. "We will not merely defend ourselves," Park continued. "We will liberate every world that suffers under alien oppression. We will bring freedom to species that have forgotten what it means to choose their own destiny." Her voice grew stronger with each word. "The galaxy has ruled through fear for too long. Today, humanity brings a new kind of fear. The fear that tyrants feel when their victims finally fight back." Lim Seojin watched the president's speech from his office deep beneath the Korean peninsula. As director of human intelligence operations, he knew secrets that would reshape the galaxy. For 40 years, his agents had infiltrated alien governments, mapped their weaknesses, and prepared for this day. "Sir," his aide reported, "Operation Deep Knowledge is complete. We have full intelligence profiles on every major galactic power." Seojin smiled. While the galaxy had dismissed humanity as primitive, human agents had been everywhere. They served as translators in alien courts. They worked as mechanics on enemy warships. They cleaned floors in government buildings and listened to every secret conversation. "Activate the sleeper networks," he ordered. It's time our friends knew which side they should be on. Across the galaxy, humans who had lived double lives for decades received their activation codes. The friendly trader who had sold goods on Centauri Station revealed himself as a military intelligence officer. The quiet librarian working in the hegemony archives began copying classified documents. The maintenance worker repairing Valoran warships started planting explosive charges. Humanity's secret war had begun. Jung Woo-suk sat across the negotiating table from 3 alien ambassadors who had requested an emergency meeting. They represented the Confederation of Independent Worlds, a group of species that had managed to stay neutral in most galactic conflicts. Secretary Jung, the lead ambassador, began. His voice shook slightly. Our governments wish to express their concern about the current situation. What situation? Jung asked calmly. The destruction of the Valoran fleet, the threats against the Galactic Council. Your species seems intent on destabilizing the entire political structure of known space. Jung leaned back in his chair. The political structure of known space is based on slavery and oppression. We intend to destabilize it completely. The aliens looked at each other nervously. This was not the diplomatic language they were used to hearing. Surely we can reach some accommodation, the second ambassador suggested. Some arrangement that avoids further bloodshed. The time for accommodation ended when the Valorans attacked Earth, Jung replied. Now there is only justice. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human warships were visible in orbit, their weapons pointed at the space station where the meeting was taking place. You have a choice, he continued. You can stand with the oppressors who have kept you under their boot for centuries, or you can stand with humanity as we tear down the old order and build something better. And if we refuse to choose? The third ambassador asked. Jung turned back to them with cold eyes. Then you will be treated as enemies of freedom. The meeting was over. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, the alien overseers watched their human workers with new suspicion. For 20 years, humans had labored in the deep tunnels, extracting rare minerals with simple tools. They had seemed grateful for the work. They had followed orders without complaint. Now everything was different. Kim Hyun-woo had been transferred from Earth's defense fleet to lead the liberation forces. His new ship, the Liberator, dropped out of hyperspace above Kepler 442b, with 50 other vessels. The mining world's orbital defenses were pathetic compared to human firepower. This is Admiral Kim of the Human Liberation Fleet, he broadcast to the planet below. All alien overseers will surrender immediately. Any attempt to harm human workers will result in your complete destruction. On the planet's surface, 3 million human miners looked up at the sky as their rescuers arrived. Many had been born in the tunnels. They had never seen Earth or known freedom. But they had heard the stories their parents told in whispers. Stories about a blue world where humans ruled themselves. The alien guards tried to use the human workers as hostages, threatening to execute them if the ships didn't leave. They learned quickly that this was a mistake. Human boarding pods struck the mining facilities like hammers. Marines poured out in black armor, moving with deadly precision through the corridors. Song Min-jae led the assault on the main compound. His men had practiced urban combat for years, but this was different. These were not enemy soldiers they were fighting. These were slavers who had brutalized human beings for decades. Remember, he told his troops over the radio, the workers are our people. Everyone else is fair game. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, every alien overseer was dead or captured. The mining equipment that had crushed human spirits for 20 years was blown to pieces. The tunnels that had been prisons became monuments to liberation, but Kepler 442b was just the beginning. Oh Seung-min coordinated the liberation campaign from his command ship. Intelligence reports flowed in from across human space, identifying every world where their people suffered under alien rule. Mining colonies, agricultural stations, research facilities, industrial complexes. Everywhere humans had been sent to work as cheap labor. How many worlds? He asked his staff. 47 confirmed sites, sir. Approximately 12 million human workers in total. Fleet status? 130 ships ready for liberation operations. Admiral Kim reports the first 3 worlds are secure. Seung-min nodded. 44 worlds to go. It would take time, but humanity had patience. They had waited 40 years for this moment. They could wait a little longer to free their people. The galaxy watched in growing horror as world after world fell to human liberation forces. Species that had grown rich from human labor found their facilities destroyed and their workers freed. The carefully maintained economic system of the Outer Rim began to collapse. More importantly, other enslaved species began to take notice. On the agricultural world of Harvest 7, the reptilian saurian workers watched human ships land and free their human colleagues. For centuries, the saurians had worked the fields under alien masters. They had never imagined that resistance was possible. But if humans could break their chains, perhaps other species could as well. Within days of the human liberation, the saurians rose up against their overseers. The siege of Valoran Prime began at dawn on the alien world. 300 human warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation around the planet that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. Admiral Han Yejin stood on her flagships bridge and looked down at the world that had tried to enslave humanity. "Ma'am," her tactical officer reported, "planetary defenses are powering up. I count over 200 orbital platforms and 500 surface batteries. And their fleet? 800 ships in defensive positions around the planet. They're not running this time." Han smiled coldly. The Valorans had finally decided to make a real fight of it. Too little, too late. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Begin Operation Final Justice." The human ships moved like a school of metal fish through space. They had learned much from captured Valoran technology over the past 6 months. Every weapon had been improved. Every defense had been strengthened. Every tactic had been refined. The Valoran defenders fought with desperate courage. Their ships launched wave after wave of missiles and energy beams. Their orbital platforms fired until their power cores overloaded. But human technology had surpassed theirs during the long deception. What had once been equal combat was now a massacre. One by one, the Valoran ships went dark. Orbital platforms exploded in brilliant flashes. The defensive grid that had protected the galactic capital for centuries crumbled under humanity's assault. Song. Minje led the first wave of landing craft toward Valoran Prime's surface. His Marines had fought on 50 worlds during the Liberation Campaign. They had freed human slaves and alien rebels alike. But this was different. This was the heart of the old order. "Listen up," he called to his troops over the radio. "Down. There is the council chamber where they voted to enslave us. Today we're going to walk through those doors as free humans and show them what their mistake cost them." The landing was swift and brutal. Valoran ground forces tried to stop the human assault, but found themselves outmatched. Human soldiers moved, with the precision of predators and the fury of those who had been wronged. Within 12 hours, the planetary capital was in human hands. Kang Deho stood in the same council chamber where he had first received humanity's condemnation. Now he wore the uniform of a human diplomatic corps officer. The floating chairs that had once held the galaxy's most powerful leaders sat empty, except for a few captives. "Ironic, isn't it?" he said to the former council leader, now stripped of his ceremonial robes and sitting in chains. 6 months ago you summoned me here to hear your judgment on my species. Today I'm here to deliver humanity's judgment on yours." The alien leader, his gray scales dulled with fear, could barely speak. "What do you want?" "Justice," Daiho replied simply. "And a new beginning." On Earth, President Park Ji-won prepared for the most important speech of her life. The blue planet hung peaceful in space, but it was no longer the isolated world it had been. Human ships patrolled every approach. Defense platforms bristled with weapons. The home world of humanity was now the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. "Citizens of Earth and all free worlds," she began. "Today marks the end of the old galactic order and the beginning of something better." Behind her, screens showed images from across human space. Former slave worlds where people worked their own land, mining colonies where workers owned their own tools, research stations where scientists pursued knowledge instead of serving alien masters. 6 months ago, the Galactic Council declared humanity unfit for freedom. They sent a fleet to make us slaves. That fleet no longer exists. She paused, looking directly into the camera that would carry her words to billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. "Today we establish the Terran Compact, A new government based on principles that have guided humanity through our darkest hours. Representative government, where people choose their leaders. Individual rights that cannot be taken away. The rule of law that applies equally to all. The reaction across the galaxy was immediate and dramatic. On worlds that had never known democracy, people gathered in secret to discuss these strange new ideas. The concept that common citizens could choose their own government seemed impossible to species that had lived under tyranny for millennia. But humans were there to teach them. Jung Wuseok found himself busier than ever as the Compact's first Secretary of Galactic Affairs. Delegations arrived daily from species that wanted to join the new government. Some came seeking protection from Council retaliation. Others came because they had tasted freedom during the Liberation campaign and wanted more. The Crystalline delegation is here, his aide reported. They're ready to sign the accession treaty. Good. And the Saurian Agricultural Consortium? They want guarantees that their farming cooperatives will be protected under compact law. Jung nodded. Every species brought their own concerns and needs. But they all shared one thing: the desire to be free. The transformation happened faster than anyone expected. Human medical technology began saving lives on dozens of worlds. Diseases that had killed billions were cured with simple treatments. Genetic conditions that had plagued entire species for centuries were corrected. Oh Seung-min coordinated the humanitarian effort from the former Veloran capital, now renamed New Geneva. Supply ships brought food to worlds that had known famine. Engineering teams built water purification systems on planets where clean water was a luxury. Teachers established schools where children learned to read in their own languages. Sir, his logistics officer reported, the relief convoy to Kepler 186F is ready to depart. Medical supplies, food synthesizers, and a full education package. What about the political situation there? The local government collapsed last week. The people are forming their own council using the compact model. This was happening everywhere. As news of human success spread, old governments found themselves unable to maintain control. People who had accepted oppression for generations suddenly demanded the same freedoms they saw humans enjoying. Some governments tried to resist. The hegemony navy launched a counteroffensive, trying to reclaim lost territory. They learned quickly that humanity was no longer fighting alone. Nam. Taehyung watched his sensors as a mixed fleet approached his position. Human ships flew alongside Saurian cruisers, crystalline fighters, and vessels from a dozen other species. The Iron Mountain was no longer part of a purely human fleet. It was part of something larger. All vessels, this is Admiral Nam. He broadcast. Today we face the forces of the old order one more time. They come to reimpose slavery on those who have tasted freedom. We're here to ensure that never happens. The battle was brief but decisive. Ships that had once terrorized the galaxy found themselves overwhelmed by the combined might of free peoples. The hegemony retreat turned into a rout. Their surviving vessels fled toward the galactic core, abandoning the outer rim to the compact. But humanity's greatest victory was not military. It was ideological. Yoon Min-ho, now Grand Admiral of the Terran Defense Force, established memorial sites around the debris fields of Veloran fleets. But these were not monuments to human victory. They were reminders of the cost of tyranny. Never, again, read the inscription on the memorial at Earth's L4 point. Never again will sentient beings bow to those who claim the right to rule through strength alone. School children from dozens of species visited the memorials. They learned about the great mistake that started the liberation. They saw what happened when free people stood together against oppression. Most importantly, they learned that freedom was not something that could be given by others. It had to be taken and defended. Lee So-min, now retired from active service, often walked through the memorial gardens on Luna. She had lived to see humanity rise from a threatened world to the leaders of galactic civilization. But she knew the work was not finished. Ma'am, a young officer approached her during one of her walks. I'm Lieutenant Park from the Defense Academy. I wanted to thank you. For what? For pressing the button. For starting all this. So-min looked up at Earth hanging in the black sky above them. The blue world looked the same as it had 50 years ago when she had received that first message from Kang Daeho. But everything else had changed. "I didn't start anything," she said quietly. "I just stopped pretending we were something we weren't." "What do you mean?" "Humans were never weak. We were never primitive. We were never suitable for slavery. We just let others believe those things, while we prepared for the day when pretending wouldn't be enough." She pointed up at Earth. "That world made us what we are. Ice ages taught us patience. Plagues taught us cooperation. Wars taught us strength. Disasters taught us to rebuild. We didn't become apex predators when the Valorans attacked us. We already were apex predators. We just finally had a reason to show it." The young officer nodded, not fully understanding but sensing the deeper truth in her words. Across the galaxy, the Terran Compact had grown to encompass 847 star systems. Children who had been born into slavery now attended universities on their homeworlds. Scientists who had once served alien masters now pursued research for the betterment of their own people. Soldiers who had once fought for tyrants now defended the freedom of all. But in the great assembly hall on New Geneva Station, a simple plaque reminded everyone of how it all began.